Hello, Garland Nixon here, and we now get to briefly discuss what happens when you have a regime that's loaded with corrupt, sociopathic idiots in charge for 4 years. Let's talk. Hello, Garland here. It's we only got a couple days left in the year and 20 days left or so, 20 some days left of the Biden regime, and they are on the way out the door. And in the hopefully in the event that we survive another 20 days of these lunatics, we'll be talking about the hell that they have wrought upon this earth for many, many, many years, right? You will notice that in my title, I didn't put Gaza. I kind of add that in with Syria. I kind of add that in with everything because Gaza was a big part of the destruction and the end of the Democratic Party. As I can't remember the woman's name, but a woman once said, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them. And that's Gaza with the Democrats. They have and the U.S. empire, period. The Gaza, the U.S. empire. Anyone in the world who thought that this empire was anything other than a sociopathic, genocidal flock of lunatics, you got that question answered in Gaza, right? And might I add this, as far as the party of the Democrats, there are a lot of people in the party who formerly in the party who have some level of conscience, of a conscience, and who evaluate the Gaza conflict for what it is, in a historical context. A prison camp. People made an attempt to break out of the prison camp. They were involved in, violent actions, violent activities. And the response of the U.S. Empire, the U.S. regime, was genocide. Oh, well, this is easy. We'll do what we've done in the past. We'll just kill everybody. The truth is, the Gaza genocide, in the context of U.S. imperial history, in the context of European neocolonial and colonial history, is barely a drop in the bucket if you look at the numbers of people that they've killed. However, it's right in front of everybody's face right now, and everybody can see it. And so basically the Biden administration, I've often used this particular analogy, when I like old school horror movies. And in an old school horror movie, you had the vampire, and the vampire was always a very handsome man or a beautiful woman that could attract members of the opposite sex to be bitten in the neck, I might add. But they look great. If you want to see the most beautiful women in ever, just go watch a vampire movie with a female vampire. They're always the most beautiful women they could find. And of course, in many of these movies, just before they bit the poor schmuck that was there for dinner, they would transform into this evil demon, and he would finally see them for what they are, right? You've seen these movies before, right? Just before they do the bite, they transform, right? But while they're on the hunt, they look great. Well, Biden transformed the U.S. empire so that people can see it for the demonic presence that it is, for the presence that have done terrible things throughout history and even recent history. We could go to Cambodia and Laos and Vietnam, literally killed millions. Talk about a genocide, millions, literally. An empire where the foreign policy leader talking about Laos and Cambodia, tiny villages of rice farmers, people who oftentimes, couldn't read or write, who just lived in a tiny village, hundreds and hundreds of miles from the nearest town, out in the middle of nowhere. And Henry Kissinger, when talking about how to deal with that, here's what he said: anything that flies on anything that moves. In other words, take our planes, any plane we have, and slaughter every man, woman, and child that lives. Anything that flies on anything that moves. That's the history. And what they were able to do over the course of time is hide that. Oh no, we're nice guys. We're standing up for the good guys, and blah blah blah. And Biden took it to its logical extreme, right? Its logical extreme. And that is, in one extreme, we're here for the good guys. And they picked the um, tiniest group of that they could possibly find, and that would be the trans people, right? What they were looking for is a tiny, the small. What group can we pick to champion their rights? That's the smallest group we could possibly find, because that makes it easier. And if we're championing the rights of a lot of people, people within that group will stand up and say, hey, wait a minute, we're not down with this or that. So they chose the smallest group they could possibly find, which would be trans people, and they go to the top of the list. Right. And so they're there. We're there for women, trans people, minorities. And they make up new names. The BIPOC, Black or Indigenous people of color. They just make up any kind of shit. We're here for this tiny little group that you never even heard of. I'm surprised they didn't make up a group. The Smomorphians. People would be like, what are the Smomorphians? Who knows? But we're here for their rights. And we've got to go invade this country that has a lot of oil to stand up for their rights. Right. So they stood for the Smomorphians. Right. Bottom line is this. People looked at them and like, yeah, but you're doing a genocide. So on one side, you're arguing you're here for the tiniest little group that you can possibly find. On the other side, you're slaughtering human beings mercilessly. So I don't see how the Democratic Party, I'm starting at the back, but I don't see how, but I got through with Gaza. I don't see how the Democratic Party recovers from that, because 2 years from now, all of these people are not going to be like, well, you've been committing a genocide, but that's all in the past now. I think you're good guys now. Yeah, I don't see that happening. I spoke to a guy who was 30, and he said that, yeah, all my friends that were Democrats back in New York, he says, man, none of them voted for Democrats. I said, why? He said, they all said it was Gaza. They've lost the young vote. I literally, listen to this. I walk in a store that I won't mention. I call it the bad store, right? But I walked into this big, gigantic, big box store because I was in a hurry. I had to get something. So I went there, usually don't. An unmentionable store. And at the door, there were 4 people coming in, 2 young girls and 2 young guys, obviously in their 20s, obviously Asian. I don't know, of Asian descent. I don't know if they were, maybe they could have been anything. They could have been Cambodian. They could have been Thai. I don't know what the hell they were, but I know they were of Asian descent, right? Pacific Islanders, maybe. Who knows? The hell knows? Here's my point. The 2 guys had on red hats that said MAGA, and on the back, Trump. And I'm like, that's interesting. You'd never see that in the past. That's what he's done. That's what the hell that Joe Biden has wrought upon his own party is he has exposed them for who they are. Now, I'm not saying the Republicans are better or worse or whatever the hell. I'm not talking about the Republicans now. I'm just saying, in the same way that he exposed the party to its alleged ostensible constituents, that was to reasonable people looked at it and said, oh my God, what the hell are we? What is this group I'm a member of, right? In the same way that he did that, he exposed the true believers as cult members. There are people looking at us like they're Democrats really running around, and they're doing stuff like this. I can't hang out with my family members for the holidays. Why? Because some of them might have voted for Trump, and we can't associate with family members who might have voted for Trump. By the way, everywhere I go, if I go to a store, I got to go online and research first to see if the owner of that store, or maybe some workers or employers, could possibly be Republicans or Trump supporters. Got to get away from them. So he really exposed the Democratic Party as a really weird political cult. It's not even a party anymore. It's a cult. There's no critical thinking or logical considerations anymore. It's like, we are a member of the Democratic Party, and therefore we're right. We're good. We're smart. We're educated. We're better. We're morally superior, which, might I add, makes sense, because that's what he exposed the United States as. The United States is exposed to the world. U.S. imperialism, the U.S. foreign policy is exposed to the world. People are looking at it and saying, let me get this straight. You're committing a freaking genocide, but yet you're here for democracy. You're standing up for the little guy, the trans, the gay, the black, the this, the that. Exposed. Also exposed Hollywood, because they went so far with this crap that Hollywood, of course, Hollywood is an appendage of the U.S. military war machine. That's all Hollywood has ever been. It's an appendage of that. It is a tool. It is like my hand is part of my body. It's something I use. I have a body, but I need hands so I can accomplish tasks, grab things, move things around, right? That's what Hollywood is. Hollywood is a tool, an appendage, a hand that's used to massage lies into your little mind about what the state wants. So the bottom line is, when the U.S. empire said, okay, we're standing up for the rights of women and minorities and gay people, this and that, all over the world, which was a lie. And this is how we're going to do it, just by sticking them out there. Here you go. There's a gay person. That means we're standing up for gay, right? It was symbolism. Hollywood says, we're on board. We're going to do it too. That if it's part of the CIA war machines culture, doggone it, it's part of our culture. So there you go. There's a gay person. We've got a chewing gum advertisement. We got to have a gay person. That's got to be a mixed couple. Then we're going to have some mixed kids. Then we're going to have an Asian person, a Latino person, a person, and people are like, yeah, but your chewing gum advertisement sucks. You've got all of these groups in here that's supposed to fit the mold, but your movie stinks. And every single movie is strong, perfect women who they walk up to a man and they go this. Boink. They don't even have to hit him. Their finger touches him. Boink. And he goes flying out the window because they're powerful, smart women with no flaws whatsoever. And people are like, yawn, I think I will just go watch Garland on YouTube. What the hell am I going to watch here? So they exposed Hollywood as nothing but a tool for the war machine. Meanwhile, Hollywood's like, genocide? What genocide? We don't see a genocide. Nazis? Yay! Oh boy, Nazis! Azov Battalion, come on. I'm surprised they haven't made a movie, The Love and Wonder of the Azov Battalion, and they're goose stepping around something or other, right? That's what's coming. George Clooney is going to do a Azov Battalion documentary, and guess what? It'll get every award in Hollywood because Hollywood is exposed. Thank you. And as a result, what's happening to Hollywood? Disney, Marvel, whatever, they can't, I mean, every one of their movies is simply a documentary for the war machine. And every one of their movies says the same thing. Remember, the U.S. empire is going around the world and standing up for the rights of minorities and women and gay and that. And people are like, bleh, ain't watching it. Get out of here. Thank you. The Biden administration has not only destroyed the Democratic Party, it's wiped out Hollywood. It has impoverished and broke Hollywood. Hollywood is now the moral center of the universe if you let them tell it. And since they are the moral center of the universe, every movie has to teach us moral and cultural lessons. And you know what? Sometimes people just want a bunch of stinking aliens running around on a planet. They don't necessarily want moral and cultural lessons. They want a documentary. I mean, they want, what is it? A drama. They want a mafia movie, right? They want a werewolf movie. You know, they want a love story, the kind that make guys like me barf, but make other young people who still have love in their hearts go, yay, that's so cute. Tears flow out of their eyes, and the loving couple gets together at the end. Hooray! Despite the guy being in a car accident, almost dying, and getting attacked by a grizzly bear. All these terrible things happen, and in the end, they survive, and the loving couple stays together. Hooray! No, sorry, those days are over. Now, there's going to be a loving couple, but both of them will be trans or something. And they'll go around the world, and they will go around the world teaching us moral and cultural lessons about U.S. imperialism. Good luck with that model. They're going broke. Another thing to thank Joe Biden for. Now let's go on to Ukraine. Oh, what a brilliant idea that was! What a brilliant idea. Let me get this straight. You're going to go to the border of a superpower. You're going to go to the country, Ukraine, which literally means borderland. You're going to go to the border of a country that has been attacked repeatedly through Ukraine. You're going to go to the border of a country that has been attacked through Ukraine and that has said, we got one red line, bruh. Well, a couple, but the reddest of all red lines is Ukraine, because we always get attacked through Ukraine. Where your CIA director right now wrote an infamous cable, "Niet means yet," in which he said, everybody, every liberal, you name it, everybody I could find, if I went to Siberia and walked up to a reindeer and said, hey, reindeer, is there anything that would really piss you off? The reindeer's like, hey, you guys fuck around with Ukraine. I'm going to take these horns and ram them up your behind, pal. Anything but Ukraine. And the Biden administration in the first Biden iteration said, hey, I got a brilliant idea. Here's how we'll get Russia. We'll take out Ukraine. We'll overthrow the government. We'll raise the Nazis up. Let's see. Last time I heard, I checked, Russia lost 27 million people to the Nazis. Oh, that's a great and brilliant idea, Joe Biden. Now, they got screwed because they took Ukraine and off they were going to war with Russia, and Trump won, and he threw the monkey wrench in that to some extent for 4 years. He didn't want to go forward with it. He did screw around with Ukraine and arm them and stuff, but Trump was not of a mindset to go to war with Russia or anybody else, right? Okay, so let me add a little bit of headroom here. This seems a little weird. That's better. For what, I don't know, maybe it's not better. It doesn't really look better. Who cares? So at any rate, so they come up with this brilliant idea that, well, it might not have worked for Hitler, it might not have worked for Charles the 12th of Sweden, might not even have worked for Napoleon, but this time it's just, this plan is sure to work perfectly on the border of a superpower. They overthrow the government, and we're going to sanction them out, Russia out of existence. Now, in reality, they said they wanted to sanction Russia into poverty. The plan was, let me add this for those who may not know, in John Bolton's book, he wrote in there that the neocons viewed after Russia and China as economic competitors, they viewed Europe third. So it was like, hey, I got an idea. We'll destroy Russia and we'll destroy Europe. Well, they got it half right. Russia is doing pretty good. Russia's winning the war. Who didn't see that coming? But their plan, as brilliant as it may have been, slightly flawed, was we'll get the war started because everybody knows you can control the direction of war goes after you get it started. And then we'll sanction Russia out of existence. Well, the sanction Russia out of existence didn't work out so well. And at that point, it was about what the hell do we do? Their plan didn't work. And so at that point, it was, well, we just got to keep the war going as long as we can. And they even said to the last Ukrainian, and they're working on that. You got to give them credit. They're working on that. They're doing pretty damn good as far as that's concerned. To the last Ukrainian, they're dispensing with a lot of Ukrainians in a very, very rapid fashion. So we'll see how that one plan goes. I think there are people who really don't want that plan to come to full fruition. But so they move forward and they're like, oh, what the hell? And by the way, we'll screw Europe. So they decide, okay, we're going to take the leaders of Europe who are nothing but brainless. I mean, Annalena Baerbock, brainless Nazi puppets, the whole lot of them, right? So we're going to do that, and we're going to take out Russia, and Europe's economy is done. Here's an example of the disaster that Joe Biden has wrought on Europe. Take France. The truth is, France is full of crap. France, it's like, yes, we are France. We are smart French people. We can do all these things and make lots of money. But you kind of leave out that they're stick-up artists. You kind of leave out that France is rich. Well, was rich, but why was it rich? Well, let's see. They call it Francophone Africa, where a whole bunch of countries in Africa that have really great natural resources like uranium and nickel and copper and, dare I say, gold everywhere. And France just robbed those countries blind. It said, okay, we're in charge of you. Here's what we got to do. You sell your gold, uranium, etc. All the money goes in our bank and we'll store it for you. Now, you're never going to get any of it back, but we'll store it. Okay. So France is doing well because they're stick-up artists. And they can say, well, our culture is red. We got baguettes, for God's sake, and berets, all kinds of wonderful things. But we are stick-up artists. Keep that a little quiet. And thanks to Biden, pissing off the people in Africa. The Africans are looking and they see the Russians fighting back, and they say, hey, they're fighting the damn imperialists themselves. Hey, I'm down for some of that. They're fighting the U.S. empire. I'm in. Russia, of course, I'll be honest, I think Russia had some input. I think Russia did have some input and provided some help to the Sahel region in breaking away from France. But the bottom line is France is in trouble. And yeah, people are like, yes, because of French, what are they? A lot of people argue it's because of the gas, sure, energy, Russian energy. That's a problem for them, but they use a lot of nuclear energy, which is also a big problem for them because they were stealing all of the uranium for the nuclear energy from Niger. Okay. But bottom line is this: for instance, big money was coming in from the theft in Africa, and that has been ground to a halt, a screeching halt. Might I add, the countries like I think one of them is New Caledonia, who has a lot of nickel. A lot of these other island nations and neo-colonial outposts that France had, they're all trying to get the hell out. They're like, you know what? Now it's time. I see Russia's pushing back against Ukraine. Sahel regions in Africa, they're out of there. Our time's here too. So France is heading for poverty. They'll still have baguettes and berets, but they won't have the money to, maintain their baguette and beret habit. They're going down to hell, and they can thank Joe Biden for that. They can thank the war on Russia for that. It's over for them. Need we talk about Germany? Germany was living fat, weren't they? How were they living fat? They were living high on the hog off Russian energy. And the Biden administration executed the neocon plan. Look, there's a video out there. I should find it. In 2016 of Condoleezza Rice saying the Europeans, basically, let me sum it up. The Europeans are going to have to get accustomed to being without Russian energy. She said that in 2016. And at that point, that was not long after they knocked over Ukraine. And the idea was we're going to knock over Ukraine and we're going to cut off we're going to cut the gas lines, the energy lines going through Ukraine, and we're going to blow up Nord Stream. We're going to stop all of that kind of stuff. And bottom line is, as was said in Tony Blinken's book right here, Ally versus Ally, America, Europe, and the Siberian Pipeline Crisis by Anthony J. Blinken. As said in this book, the Europeans see their energy deals with Russia through an economic lens, and the friggin' neocons here see it through the lens of geopolitical strategic advantage. So, bad news, Europe. You're going to be exposed. And here's the reality of what they did. Let me give you the reality of what they really did. They exposed to the European people that they don't have democracy, they don't have independence, they don't have sovereignty. That's what they did, is what it is. And now old Trumpsters coming in, and it's hilarious to me because the Biden administration, they're like trying to pretend, Europe, we're on your side. We're standing for you. We want to save you from Russian energy. Granted, it'll destroy your economy, but the Russians could use energy against you as a weapon. We're going to make sure they don't use energy against you as a weapon. More, because you're going to buy all of your energy from us at 5 times the price that you were paying for the Russians, but at least they won't be able to use energy for you anymore. Now, the European people were like, hey, we kind of like our jobs, and we voted for these guys, and the Biden administration is basically, yeah, you think voting makes a difference to us. Annalena Baerbock came out and said, we don't give a crap what the Germans say. I mean, German people, the voters said, we want to do what we don't work for you. We work for the Biden team. So shut up and deal with it. Poverty is coming for you. And now they got old Trump. And Trumpy's a straight stick-up artist, dude. He's from New York. He's from Queens. He's going to stick you up. Trump's not going to say, we're here to do good and help you. We're trying to help you. We're going to say, he's going to be like, Trump's already said, look, you need to buy more oil from us, gas, and all that stuff. And if the Europeans are like, hey, but it's overpriced, Trump will be like, hello, yeah, it is. We're gonna make lots of money. Stick them up, buddy. Hands in the air. Empty your wallet. Your pockets are gonna be looking like elephant ears in a second, brother. Because he's from Queens. He's a straight stick-up artist. So Trump's just gonna stick up Europe. And you know something? As P.T. Barnum said, it's a crime against God and nature to allow a sucker to keep his money. And if you will voluntarily, look, let's face it, if you're a stick-up artist and you see some guy that's got a bag of money, he's just giving it away. Here you go, take it, you take it, you take it, take my money. Anybody will take my money. The stick-up artist is going to come get his. Everybody else is getting theirs. He ain't going to let you keep that bag of money. You're already giving it away. So Trump's position is this. You're giving everything to Biden. You're sending your industry that's closing down, relocating to the U.S. He's selling you all kinds of weapons. You idiots are paying 5 times what you were paying for gas. What do you think I'm going to do? That's mine. That ain't your money. It's mine. You don't want it. I'll take it. Give it up. Trump's sticking them up. He don't even need a weapon. An armed robber that don't even need arms. So you know what? Biden has exposed Europe to the world. Number one, nobody respects Europe anymore. People used to say, yeah, that Europe, they got a lot of stuff, and they got baguettes and shit like that, schnitzel, and who knows, they got all kinds of stuff going on in Europe. Although that neo-colonial stuff, they are kind of armed robbers going around the world taking people's stuff, but okay, they are what they are. Biden has exposed Europe as nothing but a colonial puppet colonies with no authority, no power, no democracy, no nothing. The people of Europe, like Annalena Baerbock said, you can vote for any damn thing you want to. The answer is no, Europe. Joe Biden has humiliated the people of Europe, humiliated them. And I hope the people of Europe wake up and come back and say, we've been degraded, humiliated, and treated like not even human beings. That's the way Biden said, come on. He blew up your pipeline, Europe. He blew up your pipeline. And then the Europeans were like, yeah, the Russians did it. And people were like, really? The Russians did it? Okay, yeah, fair enough. Then it was 6 Ukrainians in a sailboat. I mean, that's disrespectful. I got to say this. It's disrespectful. That's just like somebody taking something of yours and you say, hey, I think you took that. And they say, no, I didn't. When you say, well, what happened to it? And they go, magic. Magic. Why? It shows they don't care. If some guy steals your wallet, he stole it. He know you stole, and you approach him, say, you stole my wallet. No, I didn't. How? Well, what's that in your hand? It looks like my wallet. No, that's mine. It just has your initials on it. Yeah, but it has all my credit cards in it. Not really. They just look like your credit. In other words, the guy's like, look, yes, I stole your wallet. Shut up. I don't care. There's nothing you can do to stop me. So shove off. That's what basically the U.S. did with Europe. Yeah, we robbed you. We took everything you got. We impoverished you. We stole you. We deindustrialized you. We just made you look like trash under our feet. That's what Biden did. And the European people are like, right now, I think, let me say this. The European people, those who have woken up, I think are stunned, never saw it coming. There are those who are already awake, who are like, holy crap, we tried to tell you that the elite in Europe and the elite in Russia and the elite in the US are not on our side. Our enemy is not Russia. Our enemy is these elite ruling class scumbags who've screwed us forever and are really now they're just finishing us off. But Joe Biden, it is probably a good thing. Probably a good thing. Has awakened the sleeping lion, which is the people of Europe. Right. So let's hope the people of Europe wake up. I don't know. I don't have any confidence. The French, really, I don't know. I mean, let's face it. They voted in a government and Macron was like, screw you. I don't care what you vote in. I'll stick in my own government. And the French people really didn't do much about it. They said, oh, we'll fix you. We'll vote again. Oh, boy, French. Boy, you showed a lot of backbone. Perhaps you need a backbone. You need to pick up the backbone situation a bit more. So we've got a Europe that has been exposed. Let's just say this. So let's go with the positive thing. It's good. You can't fix something until you know what the problem is. And a lot of people in Europe are slowly figuring out the problem. You've got the UK people who thought, hey, we'll fix everything. How? We will get out Brexit. That'll get us out from the EU because then we'll be free from the EU because that is our oppressor. Bad news. Your oppressor ain't in Brussels. Your oppressor is in Foggy Bottom on K Street, right? The State Department is where you're, but the bottom line is this. So the Europeans, and I was one of them, and I said, well, if the UK, if they want Brexit, they should get Brexit. So they got Brexit. But it's good they got Brexit. It's good they got Brexit because they thought things were going to get better and they got far worse. Not, in my opinion, because they were so better off with the EU or worse off without it. It's because the EU was always irrelevant. There is no EU. There is no NATO. There's none of that crap. Not in reality. Those are umbrella organizations that the U.S. Neocons, that the U.S. put together so they could herd the suckers in. An umbrella organization, NATO. All right, all you guys get together under NATO so we don't have to order you around one at a time. And then we will throw you its economic or military cannon fodder at whoever we please. Shut up. You got no rights. The EU will control your cultural, will control your economic path. And of course, the economic path, what do we do? What do neoliberals do? They are bite you in the neck and suck the blood out of you. And that's what they've done. They've clamped their little fangs down on Europe and they're sucking the blood. They're deindustrializing them. They're like, look, we need industry. You got industry. Bad news for you. Like a stick-up artist. I need money, man. I'm a heroin addict and I got a gun. And you got money. I'm getting the money. That's what they did, Europe. But with Europe, I think the beauty of it is they didn't have to stick up Europe because Europe had a comprador class, a bunch of traders. That's what the ruling elite are really. If you break it down, the ruling elite of Europe are traders. And we'll see how the people of Europe deal with traders. Right now, they're supporting them and following. Hey, we got a great bunch of traders here. You do. You got some of the best traders in the world. So let's see what happens over the next several years when the Europeans look around and they're like, this didn't work out so well. Might I add, let's go to South Korea. We'll get back to Ukraine. Ukraine's a big one. Let's go to South Korea. So what happens? Well, for those of you, a lot of people don't understand South Korea. South Korea was created by the United States. It is a colony, and it is, most people don't know this, in the event of a military conflict, the South Korean military comes completely, wholly, and absolutely under the authority of the United States. So it's just another military for the United States. And might I add, for those poor bastards, if there's ever a war, they will be thrown right into the conflict to die, every single one of them, immediately. That they are the candidate. Ask the Ukrainians how that works out to be under the auspices of the U.S. military. That's what the plan for South Korea. At any rate, some of the South Koreans aren't thrilled with that idea. And the U.S. empire, clearly the Biden administration, after Trump won, the mask came off and they're like, okay, we're evil, demonic vampires. Out come the fangs and the crinkly, wrinkly fingers with long, nails on the end of them. And you're looking like a brutal beast. And so they look at South Korea and they're like, okay, well, screw this, man. We'll throw you in a war with North Korea. We got to do something before Trump comes in, because Trump wants to a deal with North Korea. He probably won't get one, but at least he wants one. That's a change. They can't have that crap. Okay. And I'm not saying that Trump would be successful in getting one. I'm just saying that it's a different mentality. If you're trying to get a deal with North Korea, it makes it hard to foment a war with China, because you're not trying to foment a war with China, because South Korea is supposed to be sacrificed in a war with China. And North Korea has to be attacked too. So how in the hell are you going to accomplish all of these evil deeds if you're trying to get a deal with North Korea, whether you get one or not? You got to negotiate with a lot of people and do that. And they don't want negotiating. They want war. So in their infinite wisdom, the Biden administration decided, here's what we're going to do. It's clearly obvious if you haven't been following this. The president of South Korea, a guy who came to Washington and humiliated himself by singing "Bye Bye Miss American Pie" to Biden and the neocons, which, I mean, he dropped to his knees and, kissed their feet basically by doing that. I mean, you talk about a shuffling Uncle Tom for his own people. He was the worst. So it was clear that he was their boy. So very, very recently, a few weeks ago, he declared martial law. He declared martial law. And he said, basically military people came in, they were going to kidnap the opposition. All these things came out. We found that they were going to send military up to the North Korean border to start, quote, a limited war with North Korea. So the bottom line is the Biden administration was going to have their boy, their guy, their puppet in South Korea have a complete and total coup. He declared martial law. And and that was the plan, and then start their war with North Korea, and that way they could stop Trump. Would we all die in a nuclear holocaust? Of course, but it's far more important at this point. It's far more important that you stop Trump from trying to get a deal with North Korea. It's far more important that we all die in a nuclear holocaust, according to the Biden administration. Well, the people of South Korea didn't buy into it. They fought back, and now they're trying to impeach the South Korean puppet. And let me read something to you. So Jake Sullivan, in his infinite wisdom, was interviewed, and he was asked, let me find it. He was asked about this. Oh, I'll find it somewhere. I'll find it. Hold on. So he's asked about this business of overthrowing. And the interviewer is asking Jake Sullivan. He's saying, I already knew that the neocons were behind it, that the Biden administration was behind it. But so the interviewer asked Jake Sullivan. He says, ask him, did you see that coming? Talking about the president of South Korea trying to declare martial law and, just do a coup of all democratic, all vestiges of democracy, to end all vestiges of democracy in South Korea and go all out fascist, right? So Jake Sullivan's asked, did you see that coming? And here's what he says. I cannot say that I saw the declaration of martial law on a night come and then have it reversed 24 hours later and everything. He negates everything. Did you see it? Well, did you see the declaration of martial law coming? I can't say that I saw that and having it reversed in 24 hours. I can't say that. Well, why can't you say it, Jake Sullivan? Why would you start a sentence off by saying, I can't, we're telling us what you can't say. We know you can't say it because you were behind it. And he says, I can't say this and that coming. So if you come back and say, Jake Sullivan, you said that you didn't see the declaration of martial law coming, but here's an email where you ordered it. He can say, no. What I said was, I didn't see the declaration of martial law and having it reversed 24 hours. So I didn't lie. If you ever understand statement analysis, there are a number of principles, and one of them is that usually people don't want to lie. And so they'll, and oftentimes they will leave themselves an out. So when you say, did you know that Garland was coming home at 7? And your answer is, I didn't know that Garland was driving his sister's car home at 7. You give a different answer to a different question. You didn't answer the question. And if somebody comes back later and says, hey, you said you didn't. No. I said, I didn't know he was driving his sister's car. I thought he was going to ride a bike. See what I mean? That's all he does. And have it reversed 24 hours later. What do you know? Jake Sullivan has to be deceptive. And what do we learn? Do we learn that he's lying? Here's what we learn in statement analysis. Deception. That he is deceiving us. That he is hiding something. That he has a reason for deception, right? They go on, and he goes on to say, and the guy, he says, I didn't see it coming, but we had January 6th. And he goes on to talk about January 6th. Changes the subject, right? And later on, he says, so I think it's important for us to recognize that dramatic events happen. There was an attempted coup, and now he refers it to as a dramatic event, right? And then he goes down to say, it's a good reminder, though, that surprising things happen. So before it was a dramatic event, and then he lowers it all the way down to a surprising thing. We got to remember that surprising things happen. Really, a coup attempt went from a coup attempt. And when you were asked about it, you said, I can't say that I saw that and other things coming. And then, well, it's a dramatic event. And now what's a surprising thing? What next? A minor inconvenience, I guess. You notice he's lowering the intensity of the event. I didn't see it coming. It's a dramatic thing. But dare I say it's a surprise. It's a dramatic event. I mean, a surprising thing. Here's the bottom line. They tried to overthrow the government of South Korea and it's a colony. They don't even have to overthrow the government. They already control it, but not quite enough. There is at minimum, there is the appearance of democracy in South Korea, and these fascists couldn't have that. And so now what do they have? They have exposed themselves to the South Koreans, exposed themselves in the same Epsteinian way that they've exposed themselves to the Europeans. The Europeans now know that they have no sovereignty, they have no democracy, and that the U.S. empire is giving them the shaft, and they want to push back and go in a different direction. So parties that are opposed to the ruling elite will have great success. Now, keep in mind something: the ruling elite have pretty much wiped out might I add, not just wiped out, but they've also redefined left populism, right? So their greatest achievement in wiping out left populism in Europe, in the US, etc., was redefining it. So now the neoliberal center and conservatives are happy to go along with this. Now say, basically, in a nutshell, there is no such thing as the left. Now, the left, no. What you used to know as the left was anti-war. What you used to know as the left was anti imperialist. It was very suspicious of corporate power and things like that. It was very much strong for unions and for workers' rights, things like that. That was the left. Not anymore. The leftists, they stand for, now it has been defined to a few niche social issues. Hey, do you believe in all of the things the traditional left believed in? Absolutely no, I'm opposed to all of it. However, I am in favor of trans rights and something like that, and allowing kids to get gender reaffirming surgery and paying for prisoners to have I've heard all of that. And that's the left now. And so conservatives can say the problem is the Democrats and they went too far to the left. And you're like, oh, too far left? You mean they supported workers' rights and unions? No. Oh, they oppose war? Absolutely not. They're all for war. Oh, okay, that's the left. Did they do anything the traditional left does? No, they hate the traditional left. In fact, they're trying to overthrow every socialist country in the world, but they're all for transgender rights and for gender affirming surgery with children. That's the left now. And those of us on the left are like, no, it's not. What the hell are you talking about? They're neoliberals and they're just as much warmongers as you are, because you're a neoliberal too. But the Europeans now are going to go in a different direction. And I suspect the only thing available for them will be things like the AfD. So they'll go in that direction. But I do think that a lot of these parties like the AfD, when it comes down to it, are in favor of neoliberal economic policies, which will continue the devastation. And at some point, there'll be other options that will arise. We shall see. Bottom line is, thank you for exposing to the Europeans, the ones that have half a brain, that they do not have sovereignty, they do not have independence or democracy. And now that it has been exposed to the South Koreans, I believe in Europe and in South Korea, in these colonies, you're going to have a whiplash effect, where the South Koreans are now the opposition party. When they have their next election, will win in a blowout. And you're going to get people now who are for some level of reunification. Isn't it interesting? You're going to have a similar dynamic, I think, eventually in both Taiwan and in South Korea, because I think when the way things are going in Ukraine, I think the people in a certain number of people in Taiwan are going to look at Ukraine and say, as Mearsheimer said, you led them down the primrose path, and look how it worked out for them. This ain't good. This is not good for us. Don't like this. We don't want to do that. And in the same way that the Chinese are like, look, we're going to keep things the status quo. Eventually, we will we'll come together. But right now, let's chill and be friends. Right, maintain things the way they are. The U.S. doesn't have to stick their nose in it. I think Taiwan at some point will wake up and say, we don't want to be Ukraine 2.0. I think the Korean Peninsula will say, look, we saw what the hell you did in Ukraine. We do not want to slice of that pie. So the disaster, there is a bright side to the disaster, the wretched disaster that was wrought by the Biden administration, and that is this: they exposed the truth about the U.S. and its horrific intentions around the world. They exposed to the people of Europe that they don't have independence and sovereignty, and so now they know what they got to do if they want to get it. They exposed to the South Koreans the same. They got the Africans now saying, screw this, we want to be independent and we'll do business with whoever the hell we want, including China and Russia. You've got a mess in Syria. They've been exposed. They've exposed themselves by their wanton, reckless disregard for human life in Gaza and Lebanon, etc. They've put ISIS in charge of Syria, and now it's theirs. Now they're going to have a mess there. Boy, the Israelis sure are happy. They're going to have a terrorist state on their border. But let me tell you something that's going to happen there. There will be a Syrian resistance. And to be quite frank, I mean, I'm just going to be honest. If I was the Russians, if I was the Iranians, I'd arm the living hell out of them. I'd say, oh boy, well, there's a Syrian resistance is there. They sure could use some weapons, and I would arm them to hell. I would say, yep, the ISIS, they're a problem. And look, think about it. The Russians have been hit time and time and again by ISIS. Think about this. Who does ISIS attack? In recent years, they've attacked the Iranians repeatedly. They've attacked the Russians repeatedly. They've attacked the Assyrians repeatedly. But for some reason, they never attacked the United States or Israel. Isn't it kind of interesting that this horrific jihadist, extremist group only attacks the enemies of the United States for some reason? And they take power with no army, might I add. They don't really have an army. They take power in Syria, where somebody who has a lot of deep pockets went in and bribed everybody in power in Syria. And now they walk right in without a fight. And what's the first thing they say? We got no problem with Israel. They're pals. After all, we are Muslim extremists. So why would we be angry at Israel? Like, that's supposed to make sense. So the bottom line is that's that. At any rate, thanks a lot, everybody. I got to get ready to run. And in fact, I'm going to do a great show in a few minutes with the one and only Regis Trimley. So follow him. He's great. Thanks a lot, everybody. Look, I got to run. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms. Hey, buy me a coffee would be great. Cash App would be great if you could afford to support the channel. Patreon is there. There's all kinds of good things, opportunities before the end of the year if you can afford to support the channel. Even if you can't, hey, watch the shows and enjoy them for free if you can't afford it. This is what it's for. I enjoy them, so why can't you? But if you can, support the channel. And might I add, another way you can support it. I mean, there's a lot of people today that just don't have it. It's just to share this on all your social media platforms. Thank you very much. Peace. I got to run because I got to hook up with my main man, Regis Trimblay. I'm out.